Back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to make a paper mosaic of this lovely little happy hedgehog. A mosaic is creating an image using smaller pieces, usually of different shapes, and they're usually made using tiles, but in this case we are going to use paper or coloured little bits of card and paper to make our mosaic. And mosaics can be made using different shapes, usually squares, rectangles. I've decided to use triangles because it's nice and fitting for the hedgehog, representing his spikes and everything. So we're going to make a wee start. The first thing I'll go through are the materials and then we'll get working. So I'm going to put that to the side. So the first thing we need is our A3 coloured sheet for the background. So as you can see, I used blue in this sample and I'm going to stick with blue, but you can use any colour you like. Dark blue is nice, a forest green is nice for this. Basically pick a background colour that's not going to be any of these colours that we're using. Make sure these colours are going to pop out from your background colour. So avoid using a background colour that's the same colours as our triangles. So don't use any of the autumn colours like yellow or orange or red or brown. Try and pick a contrasting colour. Black would be nice too, actually. It would make all the colours pop really well. So I'm going to stick with blue, and then we need our pencil, we need a Sharpie, we need our Pritt stick, we need our scissors. I have a little bit of washi tape here because I'm going to make a border at the start for my frame, for my piece. And then we need a selection of coloured card or paper for our hedgehog. So you need tones of brown for the hedgehog itself. And then for the background of the hedgehog, I went for autumn colours like red, orange, yellow. You can see here I have a selection of different colours, and I picked up some of this jute just to give it a wee bit of texture. I got this in the range, this little pad, and it's full of little jute. It's actually got sticky back on it, and I thought that was very handy. So that's nice. I'm going to use that just to give it a little bit of texture. I've tones in of orange, reds, yellows, and I'm using some of these kind of patterned papers as well, just to give the piece a little bit of interest. Again, they're lovely little paper pads from the range, or these ones aren't from the range, actually they're from my local stationery shop, but you can get very similar in the range, and they do different colours and different patterns on paper. That's like kind of a brown neutral or shades of gold, it says. And then, oh, this is the one from the range. Sorry, this is the one from the range that has the patterns on it, which I think that's lovely. Loads of different lovely textures and patterns with this coloured paper. So there's where I pulled out the browns to use for my hedgehog. Okay, so if you don't have access to the nice pattern papers, it doesn't matter. You can use plain coloured paper, coloured card, whatever you can get your hands on, but try and get your brown colours and your orange, yellow, red for your background. So we're going to make a start. The first thing we need to do is draw the outline of our hedgehog. We're just going to do a very basic outline. So I'm going to draw the little kind of nose mouth area, and then I'm just going to draw a rough shape. I'm not going to do any spikes. I'm going to do the spikes with my coloured paper. I'm just going to do a kind of a rough oval shape, just an outline to show where the hedgehog is. I don't really want any marks on my page. I want the paper to do the talking. I want it all mosaic. I want you to be able to see the image using the mosaic effect. So that's my outline done. Can you see that, just in case? It's just like a rough oval and then a nose shape. So that's my outline done. Now, before I begin any mosaic, I'm going to take this washi tape. I got this in the range as well. They have loads of patterns and colours, but sometimes I use this to create a frame instead of backing my sheet in coloured card. So in this case, I'm going to use this nice kind of goldy one, and I'm going to create a frame. The best thing about washi tape is you actually don't need a scissors. You can just pull it off at the ends. So this will just give my piece a wee frame. I'm going to do it down here now. Okay, 2 more sides to go. Make sure it's well stuck down. Now this might take a little bit of time. I'm used to doing this, but it might take you a little bit more time to line it up at the edges, and that's okay. Take a few minutes to do it properly, and that's the last piece. Okay, now do you see the way that just gives the piece a nice frame? It just makes your artwork stand out at the end. Okay, now I'm ready to start the mosaic. So the first thing we need to do is prep our pieces. So as I said, in this case, we are going to use triangles. You can use any shape for mosaic. You can use irregular shapes, you can use regular shapes like squares, rectangles, anything that kind of fits together. So yeah, we're going to use triangles for this. So I kind of have a trick to cut. What colours? I'm going to stick with these kind of tones of brown. I kind of have a trick to cut triangles quickly, because you'd be all day if you were doing them separately. So I usually layer some paper, and I'm going to cut them into strips of like 2 centimetre thick. So I cut down the strips. And then a quick way of making triangles is taking those strips and cutting at an angle to create triangles. See the way I'm cutting at an angle, and I'm making lots of lovely triangles. And it's just much faster than cutting them individually. So I'm going to use these tones for my hedgehog, for the body, and I'm going to use some of that jute as well. So I'm going to cut some of that, and then for the face I'll use the lighter brown. So this is the jute. I think this is lovely for adding some texture. So I'll cut 2 strips of this. Now I probably won't layer these to cut them into triangles because they're quite thick and it's hard to cut as it is, so I'll just cut these strips separately. I like to have all my pieces ready to go before I start the mosaic. So I'm just going to prep my hedgehog pieces first before we do the background. So there we go. Now, as I said, that little jute pad that comes from the range, it's actually sticky back. So that's lovely. Very nice for fabric and fibre lessons. And for just adding texture to a piece. The only thing about it, it can be hard to cut. You need to go right into the edge of your scissors in here to get it cut nice and sharp. Okay, I am going to start with my hedgehog's body because I'm happy with all those. So let's make a start. I'm going to use my glue stick. This is so easy. Using your glue stick, cover your hedgehog's body in glue. So there we go. A nice layer of Pritt stick. And I'm gonna just do some up over the body for the spikes to go on. And then I can just get to work. So I'm gonna start with some of these lovely chocolate kind of brown colors and lay out my spikes. I'm gonna just create the shape of the body first. It just gives me an idea. I'll do all the spikes around the body first. Okay, now I'm happy with that little outline, and I'm going to fill in the rest of them. Now I know the jute can be peeled off, but to save time I'm just going to stick it down without peeling because I have my glue already down, so it's just easier instead of faffing around with it. So you just basically stick your pieces on. Now for the mosaic you must remember to leave a small space in between every piece that you put down. So you will see that not any of my pieces will be touching. Try and keep a little, now not a huge space, because then you kind of lose the sense of the image. But if you keep a small little space, little outline around each piece, that's how you create the mosaic effect. You just fit them in. It's kind of like a puzzle. You have to kind of see what pieces fit. If you find some of your pieces are just too big, like here for me, I'm just going to trim this one in two, and I might fit one in, fit some more pieces in, cut that one again. So just try and cut them down to size if needs be, to fit them into your little puzzle, and just keep sticking down, especially when your glue has gone on. Keep sticking down so your glue doesn't dry too quickly. As you can see, it takes no time at all. You can just get them down pretty quickly. And I just think mosaics are really effective. And let's get some more jute pieces. I'm going to have to cut some down here. Make some smaller ones just to fit in here. And there's no real pattern or anything. I'm just sticking them down at random. If you want to create a pattern, that's okay. You can create one. I'm not creating any pattern of any sort. I'm literally just sticking them down where I can fit them in. And I'm trimming some down because I've left some small gaps in between. So when you don't want any huge gaps, you do kind of want them to be, the gaps to be small if you have gaps. Now I have to be careful I don't do the face. We're going to do that a different colour so it kind of stands out. So I'm going to create maybe a wee spike effect here for the face. Maybe that would be better. That's it. And triangles kind of fit nicely together. They tessellate. Is the proper term for it. Tessellate means, if shapes can tessellate, that means they can fit together without leaving any spaces. So if you put triangles together like this, they fit together nicely without leaving spaces. But we do want to leave a small space to give that mosaic effect. And as I said, I'm creating no pattern of any kind. I'm just sticking them down where I can. Now I'm almost done the body. Didn't take me too long. And I'm just going to stick another piece down in here. Now, I think I'm kind of happy enough with that. Let me see, is there any little spaces? There's a wee space here. Just check your own and see, do you have any wee spaces that might need filled in with wee small triangles? And you can do that. So I'm happy with the body. So now I'm going to cut some of the lighter tones for the face. Or maybe I'll just stick with this shade or this. They're kind of nice colours, kind of beigey colours. Maybe I'll go with this for the face. I'm going to cut these triangles a little bit smaller, and again I cut a strip and angle cut it to create triangles. Okay, that might be enough. Get your glue stick and glue down your face. And again, fit your face on as best you can. The triangles, just slotting them in. I'm gonna have to cut some of these down, I think, to fit them in because it's a smaller area. The face is smaller than the body. Need a wee bit more. Doing your best to slot them in. Okay, I'm almost done this with my triangles. One thing about it is your hands get very sticky because you're sticking down all the time. Okay, now the only thing I'm missing for the hedgehog is some feet. So I'm just going to cut 4 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I fit them on as 4 wee feet. Anyway at all, it doesn't matter. It's just to give the idea of wee feet. Why did I do those ones? Yeah, something like that. Kind of pop them close together. Okay. Maybe a bit of glue stick. Stick them down. And that's my feet on. Now, I'm going to take my Sharpie. Just going to, can be any black marker at all, any black marker. Or if you want to cut, if you want to cut some of the brown paper, that's okay too. I think it's nice and easy. And then put on an eye. Nice big eye so it stands out. And a smile. Okay, we're going to give some pause. Now, moving on to the background. So as I said, I'm going to stick with autumn colours like orange, reddy, tones of orange, pinky, reddy, yellow. I'm going to layer up my papers like I've showed you now how to cut the strips. It's just the most time effective way of doing it. So I'm going to cut these 4 together into one strip. You might need help doing this. Okay. And now I've got 4 different colours, and I might actually separate them just so that they're easy to cut. I'm going to cut the triangles for this. Add an angle. Okay, that's my orange and pinky reddy tones, and then I have these 2 colours. So I said you can use any colours you want. It's just because I'm using this as an autumn piece in the classroom, but you can use any colours. You might want to use green for a forest floor. You might want to use some green, that's fine. Use any colours you like. You might want to do a rainbow hedgehog, it really doesn't matter. It's just a nice way of experimenting and creating a mosaic style piece. Is kind of the aim of this project. Okay, so I've got all my lovely autumn tones. I don't know if that's enough, but we'll work with that for now. And all you've left to do is fill in the background. So lots of glue down on your page. Careful you don't go on your border or your hedgehog. You don't need to put any glue on them. So I'll probably glue half the page because I work fast enough, but maybe you should glue maybe just bit by bit, maybe each corner or something, so it doesn't dry in on you. So I'm going to glue half of it and try and get that done before I do the other half. Plenty down, and once you have it down, you don't need to keep putting it on. As I said, your hands can get very sticky, so the less touching of the glue, the better. And you literally are just sticking down your pieces in no particular form whatsoever, but as I said, maybe you do want to do a pattern, and that's okay. Any way at all. If you have a particular way of doing it, that's perfect. Stick on all these wee pieces, and again I'll probably come back and cut smaller pieces to go in any little areas I couldn't fit into with one of my bigger pieces. I'll just make smaller triangles. For now I'll just go with these bigger ones, and I'll come back and see this here needs to be filled in and this needs to be filled in. I'll do that at the end. Come back and do those with smaller pieces. So you're basically just sticking the pieces down. It'd be a good idea to kind of go with the border and line your triangle up against it that way, just so it's in line with it. And I'm leaving that little space. I'm not going on top of each other. I'm not putting the pieces on top of each other. I am leaving that little space in between each piece. And if you see me leaving a big space, it's because I want to come back to it and fill it in with a smaller triangle in a few minutes. It really is like a puzzle. You're just slotting the pieces in. I try and have a mix of the colours as well. I don't want all the yellows in one corner or all the oranges in one colour. I try and have a few of them in the same area, a few of all the colours. So I'm kind of spreading out these colours because they're all the same. I want a few of the yellows mixed in. See the way I'm kind of going with the frame, keeping my triangles nice and straight. I need to get some of these yellows on, and reds. It doesn't matter if you go over like a little bit. I don't think it matters, but try and get most of the piece with a little space around each triangle. It looks good. Just chop that one down a bit. Okay, I'm going to cut down a few pieces to fit them in while the glue is wet. It'll fit in there. That will fit in there. So basically I just take a shape and I cut it in half so I still have that triangle shape, and then it's all about just moving around with them to fit them in the best way you can. This wee piece, I need a wee piece for up here. wee piece for up here. And I'm nearly halfway there. Now I know the background can take a bit of time, but it's worth making the effort. You see your mosaic at the end. I'm going to cut a little small triangle for above the nose. Okay, oh, one here. Get some yellow actually in there. Now I'm going to move on to the other half of my piece. Yeah, I'm happy with that so far. Okay, so I'm going to move on now to the other half of my piece. So lots of glue again. This process is so simple. Really nice, simple process. It's basically cutting and sticking. Cutting and sticking. Okay. I think I might cut some more strips before I start the other side. So a strip. And then into triangles. Should have loads there. Right, let's go on to the other half. Just sticking colours in. Need a small one for in here. These are all a bit big. Oh, that'll fit actually. There we go. So lots of nice colour. You can see your mosaic coming together. The hedgehog and then the lovely background. Kind of let your hedgehog stand out because they're all different colours. I go with my edge, my frame again. Put some colours and go nice and flat along with the frame, so that you're not stuck trying to slot it in. Trying to fit them in as best you can be hard. The most important thing is not to cut too many pieces. You don't need loads and loads of pieces, you just need enough. You saw I was just cutting a few strips at a time, because you don't want to waste paper. You just cut a few strips at a time. And we're getting there. We'll take all these over. Going along with my border. Again, if I've left big gaps, it's because I'm going to come back and fill in with smaller ones in a wee second. My fingers are getting very sticky now. I don't know about you, but mine's might need a little clean. Keep sticking to the glue. Now I need some yellow ones to bring it to life. Come back now and do some smaller ones. There's one, that one. I need to cut some more of that kind of reddish tone. Cut some more of these pieces. Almost done. I'm going to get a little bit more of this. Now, I'm going to slot some of these in, some smaller ones, because if you leave big gaps, it just kind of, you lose sense of the image. So try and keep the gaps very small. Just slot them in as best you can. I should probably put one up here. Now, and a wee bit of yellow to kind of finish off these pieces, these wee areas. There. Bit of orange. Okay, I'm really near the end now. So I'm just going to cut this down small, and I'm going to take a look. I want to see if there's anything I could fill in. I might fill in down here, a little tiny piece. And that's it. Happy enough with that. That's our little happy hedgehog paper mosaic. I hope you enjoyed making it, and I'll see you for the next tutorial. Bye.